Alright, good morning everyone. This is Steve, KI5J with the J&RH Railroad. This morning we have a series of videos we're working on LEDs and LED construction, signal light construction primarily. And what we're looking at now is we're going to move into the next phase of our signal building processes using various LEDs and resistors and wiring and so forth. But what we're looking at, this is going to be what looks like the finished product. And what we'll do here, I'll show you, this is basically what we're going to take is this fixture here, and we're going to incorporate green and red LEDs into that fixture with the wiring necessary to operate them. So real quick, I'll show you, we have a switch connected to this, and if I turn this, we'll turn to red and back to green. So what happens is we actually wire in off of the tortoise frog isolated relay contacts, where we actually utilize those to activate the power to this individual LEDs. So what we'll do, we'll back out for a second. I'll kind of show you. We have a second one, which is over here on the bridge, and I'll zoom in on it also. You see that one there is red. And again, it basically, what it does is, the way the switch is set up here, is depending on which way the switch is thrown, is which way what those lights will do. So you see how they toggle there? So that works out real good. So we'll go ahead and continue on with the next episode here. We'll actually show you pictures and illustrations of how to do this type of work. And we'll be back with more information.
This is Ron, K5EHL with the J&RH Railroad. We're back with you on our LED signal lighting project. In this particular frame, we're showing you the part number for the Bachmann traffic signals. They're called block signals. These are what you need to purchase at your local hobby store. I'm using the Acro Mills bin containers. This is for my what I call train signals, the completed signals. So I have a storage place for them. You need to think about some place to put your finished projects. Would like to show you two other Acro Mill storage boxes. One of them has the completed signal lights that are ready for installation, the one on the left. The one on the right is a topic we'll take up in another session, but that is the infrared detector modules that will trigger these lights, but that's another subject. In this view, we're trying to demonstrate how these signals will look. They come from Bachmann in black. I've painted some of them with silver, and it's just a good choice either way, black or silver. But this will give you an idea of what you're going to see. Now, when these come from Bachmann, they're going to have a plastic jewel colored lens that would go in where your light will. So you won't use those, but this is give you an idea what your signals can look like. The Bachmann signals are going to have a pre-drill hole, but it won't be the correct size. We're going to be using 3 millimeter size. That's the diameter, 3 millimeter diameter LEDs. This particular project, we're going to use initially flat top ones. But if you have a tool there that will measure the hole size, you'll see that's about 3.81 millimeters. Now, that hole we have drilled out to accept the LED. It really is not that critical, but if you want to, you have the tool, you can easily measure what you got and then go find a drill bit that fits in that little slot at the bottom of the micrometer. In this slide, I've set 2 drill bits down, a small one and a larger one. Now the larger one actually is about the 3 millimeter size hole, but I recommend that you start with a smaller drill bit and then expand up as you need to. The other thing to be cautious of is the plastic is soft and the bit will bite into it. So you need to hold your light, use a pair of long nose, get a good hold on it before you start to drill. This view, I want to show you the big drill bit actually fits inside that light. We've drilled that hole out, so that'll give you an idea. You may think that that's an awfully large hole, but it really isn't. In this slide, I have placed a flat top 3mm LED located just to the right of the signal light and between those two drill bits. We're going to talk more about those as we go the next few slides, but you can see this is clear, so it becomes important that you know what color you're putting in there. You can get an idea how that LED is going to fit into the signal light, and this is a good time to make sure that you got your hole adequate size on it. Another view of our LED signal light. Notice the wires coming off the LED. One is shorter than the other one. We're going to talk about that, but the short wire on the LED I have found to always be the negative lead. Front view of our signal light with the flat LED mounted. As you may be able to see, that is a clear LED. And the flat gives a unique feature, much different from the round LED that we can use. But that's what it looks like when you've got it mounted in there, and that checks to be sure the hole size is correct. Okay. This slide, we're looking at a different signal light that's already completed. This is a 3mm round LED. If you can see it, one is red and one is green. These are not the clear ones, but these are 3mm. They're just round. That's the difference on them. Giving you a little perspective on this signal light. This is one of the old ones did several years ago, and it is a round 3mm, red and green. We have a black soda straw that is glued onto the signal light mast, and I just use Elmer's white glue, and it works fine. If you need to take it off for whatever reason, it just pops right off. But it holds it steady for the track applications. Different view of that signal light from the back side, just to give you an idea what it looks like. For those of you who like a lot of detail in this particular view, you can see the wiring that comes up. And the way to hide that, or I found the way to hide it, is I use the Elmer's white glue and just build it up over that wiring, and then go back and paint it with a black acrylic paint. And unless you're really critical, you're not even going to be able to see the wires. Another perspective on the 3mm round LEDs in your light. And from the front, they look very nice, very realistic. Backing out a little bit to get an overall view, what becomes important somewhere in the process is your feed wires that come down that straw tube. You can also use brass tubing if you have some. That's initially what I used when I started doing these years ago. But I found that the plastic soda straw tubing worked just as well, and it was a lot easier to handle. And what we have is some of the wires that have been connected, the feed wires connected to the small 30 gauge wire that comes out of that tube. And you notice that we use some heat shrink tubing in there to reinforce, take the stresses off those small wires. So that becomes important as you progress for installation. In this view, it's the same signal light. We have installed heat shrink tubing over the wire connection joints, and we use enough heat shrink to give a good stability to that feed line. So you can work with it and bend it as you're installing it, but you don't have to worry about breaking the wires. Remembering that we did not install any resistors on these LEDs. So in this particular case, I elected to put the resistors on the end of the feed wires, use some heat shrink tubing to cover the connections and also give a little support there. So actually there are two 680 ohm resistors, one for the green light, one for the red light. And you must use the resistors. You cannot run this direct. You will burn out your LEDs just almost instantaneously. Now, I just been advised by our film director that we're going to have to cut this segment. We're about out of time, but the next segment we're going to show you how we color the LEDs. We mark the cathodes using a permanent marker pen, and we're going to share some of our experiences with you on these LEDs. That'll be in our next segment. Thank you for watching this. This is Ron with JNRH Railroad in Abilene, Texas. You folks have a good day and enjoy.